What's up, everyone? How are we doing? As always, thank you for tuning in. I know I haven't been as consistent on this as I'd like, but whatever. We're going to go right into it. I apologize for that. But again, thank you for tuning in. If you guys like these videos, subscribe and comment and share and whatnot. Today, I'm talking a little bit about my own personal experiences with dieting, specifically trying to recomposition my body for my own athletic goals. So long story short, I wanted to lose some percentage of body fat. I didn't calculate it. I didn't have measurements before and after. I could see in the mirror, if I had a guess, it's probably 13%, maybe 12. And I wanted, probably more like 13. I wanted to get to like 11 or 10. I thought in my head, maybe even 9, or probably not 8, but probably 9. In my head, I was like, if I get there, I will have less body fat on me. And in turn, I'll be able to be more athletic. I do this sometimes. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I find the human body and the science of the human body interesting. So I kind of treat myself like a little bit of an experiment. I don't ever really go too overboard, but I'm always cognizant and try and take mental notes as I go through it. And time again, this is kind of how the whole process works. Now, I did lose weight and I actually recomped pretty well. But then it got to a point where I don't have the details of it. I was at a good body fat percentage that I was happy with. But I was like, well, what happens if I lost like 1 or 2 more percentage points, right? Get down really into like, I'd say it's probably 8% if I take a guess. What it would have been, 8 or 7. I was pretty lean. I was lean. I want to get a little bit leaner. So obviously I was trying to be pretty lean. Whatever, you get the idea. But what happens time and time again, it's almost like a balancing point where I have to not really restrict my diet so much, but the effort towards managing that reduces my energy levels to actually train. So then my focus on recomposition starts to take away from my own training. And so then you have to kind of do a cost-benefit analysis. Am I going to make more progress in my training for my athletic goals than I would for my body composition goals? Or would I make more progress if I recompositioned and then went into training? And I like to train, I like to lift, I like to play sports, and so I didn't want to sacrifice my performance. And so I kind of went back and forth, and I took a break, and I was like, let's try again. I got fatigued, and so on and so forth. But the point is, this seems to happen at a certain point for some people. This is purely anecdotally observational, no science behind the kind of statement, but you get the idea. It's almost like there's a certain point in time where it is there is obviously a point in time it yields no more benefit, but it's almost like people talk about this, your body has a specific set point, everyone's kind of different. It's like there's a certain point, at least for myself, where I start to reach the territory of like, look, getting any leaner isn't going to do you any good performance-wise. And there's certain things I noticed. I had my work capacity decrease. So I had to take longer rest intervals between sets. I was generally less energetic, a little more lethargic going into a workout. My high power outputs seemed to be reduced a decent amount. I could still lift decently heavy, but the ability to actually get in there and train for multiple sets of high power outputs seemed to be limited. My heart rate would elevate quicker. I was hydrated. It wasn't like I was hopped up on caffeine and dehydrated or anything like that. I think I maybe cut out too many carbs, or you just naturally had to cut something out during this process. And so carbs to an extent had to fall out of that. And maybe it was too much, or maybe it was a certain point in time where my body started to reject the idea of losing weight. But the point of this is that you should listen. I use the word listen kind of loosely. You should listen to your body, but in other words, constantly be collecting relatively objective inputs and outputs. I.e., I didn't just like sit here and be like, let me hear what my body has to say. Oh, you're tired, Max. Stop working out. No, my body was telling me I was tired because I couldn't jump, or my heart rate elevated. There were these physiological signs that were taking place. I wasn't recovering fast enough. And another thing I really noticed, and this was probably the kicker, is that when I took a couple-day break of trying to do whatever, I felt my energy levels get much higher, right? And the moment in time, you kind of get used to being tired. You're kind of like, well, I guess I'm just tired all the time. I'm just working hard. But then all of a sudden, I took a break from trying to manage whatever, and my energy levels soared back up. I loved it. I felt great. I could train hard. I felt great in the weight room. My work capacity almost like tripled because I didn't realize how low it had fallen. All these things went kind of transpired during this process. And at the end of the day, right, it's because two things. One, I let it get to a point that was probably more fatiguing than I'd care for, but because it's kind of a little bit of a self-experiment, whatever. I'm a weirdo like that. I don't advise anyone to do it. I just like to do it because I like human physiology and trying to understand how the body works. But on top of that, I could have avoided it if I just was a little bit more cognizant as to how I was actually feeling. An honest appraisal. Not like, oh, I am tired, but always trying to justify it, right, for a certain reason, whatever it might be, right or wrong. But I just wanted to share that bit of information with you because it is something that maybe you've encountered and maybe you try and do, and that's why people talk about having a slow trickle of weight loss, especially for athletes and performance. Because if you had to have some large amount of weight loss, whether it's systemic stressor on the body, it might take away from some of your training that you're actually trying to do. Which is why when for my athletes to talk about body composition, things that come up, have them work with a registered dietitian. And then we go through there and during the training process, we're not trying to sacrifice our training to fit, whatever it might be. We're always being cognizant of the energy levels, tracking data, and so on. But I think you get the idea. End of the day, listen to your body, be smart, maybe a longer term approach. I did do this recomposition thing. I want to say it was probably 7 months, 8 months. I gave myself a really big runway, maybe almost a year. And there were times where, I got slim and thin, and I was really heavily tracking myself on the scale. But then again, when I kind of got to those lighter areas of body weight, the effort it took to maintain that wasn't worth it to me. And so that was something I evaluated too. It's like, I'm not competing on stage. I'm not trying to be very low body fat percentage. I'm just doing this for my performance. If it's not helping my performance, then what's the point? So just something to share with you guys. I hope you all enjoy. If you guys have, any other topics for me to cover, I just want to share some personal stuff on here about things I've gone through with my training and hopefully helps you all out. So I appreciate you guys as always. Take care and thanks for listening.